Welcome to another episode of Drone Rescue. Now, what I have for here is Phantom 4 Pro, and you may say, well, you've already done a couple of different rebuilds concerning the Phantom 4 Pro. Well, yeah, that's true, but this one's a little different. This one is the version 2.0, and I was really curious to see as to what the difference was inside here from the Phantom 4 Pro Standard to the Phantom 4 Pro 2.0, which, as you might or might not know, this has the Occusync, which was first introduced with the Phantom, not the Phantom, but the Mavic Pro. So what's the difference? We're going to take a look and we're going to see. Of course, the difference in operation should be that you should be able to maintain the visual on your phone for a longer distance. The signal, in other words, should be stronger for the video coming back. It should have less breakup. You should be able to fly further with less breakup. Doesn't mean you're going to fly further with the controlling signal. Matter of fact, I think the stats state that the distance is still roughly the same from the Phantom 4 Pro to the Phantom 4 Pro V2.0. The difference would be that you're able to maintain the visual, the FPV type visual on your phone for a longer period of time, for a longer distance before it breaks up and you lose signal. You can still control the drone after the video signal was lost in most cases and still bring it back if you need to. But anyway, let's go see what the difference is here on the inside of the drone between the light bridge and the Occusync. Now, some of the tools you might need for doing a project like this would be, excuse me, some smallish style Phillips screwdrivers, different types of bits. You got your hex bit, star bit. I have this set here. I have two different sets. In case there's a bit that's a little bit different in size, between the two sets I'm going to have something that'll work. Spludger tools you need. I have these three here, plastic and metal one. Smaller plastic one. These are jeweler screwdrivers, by the way. Actually, you're in a clock shop, so that's why I have jeweler screwdrivers here. Tweezers are always nice. And then over here, I have my soldering iron. You're going to see that later. You're definitely going to need that. And a word of advice is you have to be comfortable with soldering. Something like this, because we need to do some desoldering and desoldering to get these motors transferred over. We'll go through all that when we get to it. Now, I've already picked out the DJI glue that I believe was in this one right here. They put a little glob of what looks like hot glue in the screw head here so that they know if it's been messed around with. If it's been picked out, then they know somebody's been taking this drone apart. Now, that being that was there, I know that this drone wasn't taken apart and wasn't cherry picked for parts. I bought this drone, as I do with most of my drones, off of eBay. The controller was in pretty good shape. It was a little bit separated the seams at the very top. Maybe it was bumped or something. I just took the back, just loosened the screws and snapped it back and tightened the screws down, and it works fine. It connects with the phone. I was able to adjust the joysticks on it using the app on the phone, so we're good there with that. And as you might know or might not know, the controller is different on the version 2.0 than it is from just the regular Phantom 4 Pro because of the Occusync. Let's get into this. Let's start taking this apart here. First, we're going to remove these screws here. Of course, we have a broken camera here. Now, I will say that the camera on these is exactly the same as what you have on the Phantom 4 Pro standard version. So I might or might not make a video on replacing the ribbon cable and the yaw arm on this. So we'll see. I've already done a video. I might just link to that video from the past. I already done a video actually on this rebuild of this type of a camera. I did actually for the Phantom, the standard Phantom 4, and I did one for the Phantom 4 Pro. So there's two separate videos, and they're similar to each other. So whether I want to do that with this, I won't be doing that today. We're going to focus on repairing the drone itself, and if I decide to do that, you'll see a video come up later on with the repair of the camera. All right, let's get started here. Oh, I have another set of drivers here that I need. I like to start with these drivers here. They're simple. I have most of the sizes I need here on this. I think that's the size I need there. So let's go ahead and start by removing the screws here. Take the bottom off. And we're going to just pry this off here. Pop off. Here we go. We have a ribbon cable here that we have to deal with. And that's right there. And right away I see an issue here. We see a ribbon cable here that's been detached. And from here, probably happened during the impact. Now that could give you all kinds of error messages when you go to fire up the app. I don't remember if this goes down to the ESCs, but you can get errors with the ESCs. You might say, oh, I got bad ESCs on this, or electronic speed controllers on this drone. This isn't worth repairing. But this is why I recommend you have to take these apart. Look at them. When you get an error message like that, oftentimes it's just a detached ribbon cable. The ESCs are pretty robust on these drones here. So we're going to have to put that cable back in. Might have to put a little bit of glue on that too. We'll see. Just to make sure it doesn't come loose again. Got our Phillips screwdriver here. And I have not taken this apart. Oop, this screw dropped down in there. Can we get it? Where did it go? It's in there underneath. There it is. So I don't know what condition we have inside here. I'm hoping that it's nothing seriously damaged on the inside here. They're pretty robust. The shell can look like it's completely destroyed, but inside here the electronics are often in pretty good shape. This is what I've discovered over the years from doing these things. Okay, we're going to pop this off here. And we're going to set that aside. And I see one big difference right away here between the standard Phantom 4 Pro is we only have two antenna hookups here. That's interesting. I did notice that on the new landing gear, there's only two antenna leads, as opposed to being four on the standard Phantom 4 Pro, so that's interesting to discover. All right, now let's pop this off here. And we'll put this in the next bin down. Helps to have magnetic screwdrivers with this, folks. And drop that in there. See, we have two antenna leads there. I'm going to take a picture just because my memory isn't what it used to be. As you can see, the darker gray one is on the top toward the battery area, and the white lead is toward the front of the drone. So let's take a picture of that. Keep my phone handy in case I want to take any more pictures. Okay, you can see how the landing gear just sort of broke off here. Let's start taking this apart here. I think I need the bigger, I do need the bigger hex bit. This is a smaller hex bit here, used to take off the bottom of the drone where the gimbal is. Looks like it is a 1.5 millimeter. We'll select a larger one here, which would be the 4mm. It's hard to see. It might be 2mm. Anyway, just get yourself a set of these, and you should have yourself covered for all the screws you need. First I'm ahead of myself here. Let me take these reflectors off, these sticky reflectors here. We got that one will pop off. Drop that into a bin. Of course, there should be the reflectors here. You can see this one's here, but the other ones are missing. I've got them. I bought them. Pop this one off. And I only have one of these here. The other ones were missing, but I do have those on order. They haven't arrived yet. They're just sort of end reflectors. But we'll pop this one off here. They frequently go missing during a crash. Drop that in there. We'll need to pop this reflector off here. We used a small screwdriver for that. Drop that in there, and we'll take this sticker off here. And that can all go there. Now we'll need to take these screws out. These are for the motors. So we'll undo that one. Those are the machine screws. The screws are out. Now we should be able to start to separate the shell. Begin on the end here. We don't really care about I did forget one item. I always forget these little screws here. We do have a couple of small screws here, and I do have to detach those antennas. So once again, I forgot. I'm going to put that in there and this here. So folks, don't forget these two little screws here. That, and then we're going to pop these antenna leads off. Once again, I'm getting ahead of myself here. Anxious to get this baby working again. Pop off the antenna. Alright, that's popped off. Now, we can begin separating. Let's just bring these leads up here out of the way. Those leads are going to get replaced anyway when we replace the the landing gear, since they'll have new antenna leads. And we have these metal grounding straps here that we need to sort of bend up a little bit just to get them out of the way. Go. And let's see if we can separate this here. Separate this down here. It's usually much better to work from the end here and then separate it. Okay, now we're loose. We don't just want to go yanking this off here because we have a connector to remove. Okay, one of them is already pulled out, I see. And is it missing or is it just not needed? We'll see. Maybe over here it's interesting. I had to figure out where this connector goes over here. Well, that's something that's different. Let's disconnect this one here. And that's disconnected. Yeah, this is a different one over here. Okay, this is something I haven't seen before in previous models. Okay, I see a problem here. Oh boy, that broke right off. Might have to get a new magnesium. Cage there. See if I can pick this glue off here. Separate this cable. I'm going to take this broken piece of a leg off here. And we'll set this aside over here. Got some of that DJI glue in there. Clear that out so we can get the screw out of here. There we go. I'm going to pull this wire down through here. Alright. Yeah, that's what we're up against here, folks. Look at that. Boy, that took quite a hit. I might be able to epoxy that. You see, that's different. I think I'm going to try to epoxy that. And we'll see what we can see how it see how stable it is. Because once it's inside the case, it should be stable. It's either that or I have to replace this entire magnesium frame, which I kind of don't want to do right now. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to get some epoxy on this, and then we'll let it set for a while. We'll bring it back when it's dry. We are back. Now off camera, I actually I epoxied this piece together here. You can see that or not. I did investigate purchasing the entire cage here. You can get them from eBay, from China. You can get them from AliExpress. I'm a little concerned about the quality. They don't appear to be original DJI products. They're, I don't want to call them knockoffs, but aftermarket. And some of the reports I read said they're made of plastic, while these are, of course, the magnesium metal. Let me move this out of the way here. So what I chose to do was epoxy this instead. And it's actually really rigid. And there really isn't any force on this. And it shouldn't loosen up due to any kind of motor vibrations. There's a fair amount of epoxy here. So I think we're okay with that. One of the things I did find out, though, there are differences. You can't just buy the cage that is fit for the Phantom 4 Pro regular or standard, because the version 2 now has this little switch in here that when you put in the battery, it pushes a switch down and then confirms that the battery is inserted properly. In other words, issues for people not inserting the battery properly into these, and then they would lose power. The battery would loosen its way up during flight, and then they would just fall right down like a brick. So DJI sort of fixed that when they designed the version 2 of this Phantom 4 Pro. So that's interesting. So you'd have to buy the cage that's specifically meant for the Phantom 4 Pro version 2. And like I said, there's a number of them on eBay. They come from China. I'd have to wait, who knows, a couple of weeks, probably at least. Or AliExpress. I just don't know what the quality is. So I want to go with this for now. It's nice and solid. If it does happen to pop or break in the future, then I'll go that route. I'm only going to be flying this drone myself. I won't be selling it. The thing I noticed here, I didn't mention it as I took the shells apart, but one of the other differences here is this no sub-G antennas. The blade-like structures that you find here in the in two of the arms, I don't know exactly what they do. They call them antennas, sub-G antennas, but they're not here either, so that's an interesting difference there. Let's do this. Let's put this ribbon cable that you see that had popped out here during the initial crash. I want to put that back in, and then I maybe want to stick the battery in just to see if we can get that DJI sound out of the motors. I haven't really even tested this drone to know whether it's going to be fully functional. I'm going to try to get this tape off here. Let's see what we can find a better pair of tweezers here. Peel this tape off here. So we can get this cable back in. Okay, we'll flip this up. And I should be able to slip this back in there. Hopefully it goes in and goes in tight. Feels like it. And we'll just push this back down, lock it into place, and we should be good. We're going to put our tape back down here. This comes from the flight controller, so I don't know what kind of error message you would get on the app, but you'd certainly get some sort of error message, being that was disconnected. And it would look pretty bad, actually, on the app when in reality it's just a cable that had come loose. Okay, that's in. Feels relatively tight, so there's no need to do anything to reinforce it. Now what I'm going to try here is I'm going to try inserting a battery just to see if we can get that DJI motor sound here that tells us that, hey, we're going to be able to spin these motors up eventually. So let me go ahead and grab a battery. Okay, that's in. Let's see what happens. All right. I like that. We got our sound. So now we can go forward. Wait till it shuts down here. Good. All right. All right, let's see here. I think we can actually consider desoldering these motors. Let's start with this one over here. I'll just pull the wires out. Also, what's interesting here is it looks like DJI doesn't use as much of the white glue on this model. It's a lot less than what I've seen on the other Phantom 4 Pros. Yeah, it's just a little dab right there. I'm going to get the new shell, the top portion, and let's go ahead and transfer the motors right on over to it, off camera. Oh, by the way, speaking of off camera, this is a new bottom shell here. The old bottom shell, of course, is going to be trashed. When I put the new landing skids on here, connected up the one lead here. This goes to the, this is for the compass. And then, you know, you have your antenna leads already run here with tape, just like it was with the original shell. So I just wanted to show that on camera. I have these pieces coming and they've been ordered here. So let's set this aside and make sure we are zoomed all the way out. We are. Since we're done with the bottom portion of it for now. Well, it's time to get out my soldering iron here. Get a little bit of solder here. Let's see what we're set at. I believe we're set at 750 here. Let me grab some flux. I don't know if I'm going to need this. It might help. It is difficult to melt this solder that DJI uses, even at a higher heat. I find it easier to try to mix it with some of my own solder. Put a little bit of solder flux on here. That's too much. Okay. A little bit of soldering on this on the soldering iron here. Let's give this a try. Okay, we'll get the gray one off here. See if this will hold it. Since we don't care about this shell replacing it, that should steady it nicely. Okay, there's the motor. One motor anyway. Now we can actually pop this off here. We'll take it off. We're just going to go ahead and put it in the new shell. Which is right here. Clips right on her, just like that. Okay, let's work on this side here.
A little longer than a few minutes later.
Okay. I'm going to loosen this up now. Take that off. Get this out of the way. And we're going to snap this in here, just like that. Okay, these are all on. So we're going to set this top portion aside for now. All right, let's see here. What do we got? Oh, we've got to take off the LEDs. They're actually, they're melted on. Little tabs which come through here, and they melt them to fix them to the arm. How are we going to get them off, you say? Well, we're just going to do this. Pop them. Pop them. Here we pop this one. And pop this one. Pop this one. And this one. And the last one. Alright, they're loose. So now let's get our hex bit out here. We're going to need to remove this entire assembly here. For now, I'm going to turn off the soldering iron. Let's see which one it is. I think it's this one here. Hex driver. It is. Sort of an angle you have to get in here. It's a little bit awkward. There's one. We shall put it over here. There's another one over here. And we have another one over here. My workbench isn't really all that large, and I have a camera sitting on it too, so yeah, a little tight on space here. Okay, those 4 screws are out. Now we should be able to just lift this whole assembly carefully out. But there is a connector here, so you got to be careful. Let's pry this down here. Pry this down here. Sure it's loosened up. this up here. All right. Now down here, let's carefully lift this up here. We have our GPS connector. That's actually down right in here. So we're going to disconnect that. Let's see if I can lift it a little bit higher. Right, and ta-da! I don't think we're stuck here with a little bit of glue. There we go. All right, here's our entire unit there. You can see it's got this tape underneath here. Not sticky tape, it's just tape. And we'll set that whole assembly aside. Now here's our GPS unit right here. And you see we have shielding on it, so we're going to have to peel that off. It's going to go right on the new shell. So let's get this off here first. I'm going to try to avoid touching this with my fingers. If I can, just so I don't get my oils on it, to reduce its stickiness. Just carefully lift this up. I've had the lid come off on this GPS unit in the past upon pulling this off. This time it didn't, it stayed on. Alright. There it is. Let's set that aside. And here's our GPS unit. So, we need a Phillips screwdriver. Let's see here. These are in there pretty tight. They kind of bite into the plastic and make their own threads, so to speak, self-tapping into the plastic. We're going to set them right there on a bench because we're going to be using them right away. Okay, let's carefully lift off our GPS unit. Now we can officially get rid of this. Okay, here's our new unit, our new top, I should say. And we're going to turn it around. So that it sits in there properly. Put some foam underneath here to give it some support as I put these screws in. That's in there. Put this shielding back on. Let's reposition this a little better. Sorry if I go off camera, folks. Okay. There you are. That's on. Now let's get our unit here. We'll set it into place. I want to get the GPS plug in here. See if we can do that. Folks, we had a little bit of a setback here. The GPS plug, which I don't know if you can see that down in there, broke while I was trying to insert it into the socket, and I had to actually pry it back out of the socket. The plug had to, actually the entire GPS unit had to be replaced, a bit of a cost that I didn't count on. But it happens. These connectors are delicate. The socket itself actually took a little bit of a crack, but it's still usable, so I was able to obtain a new GPS unit. Around 90 bucks, you know, for a new GPS unit, but you can't replace the connector itself. Let me show you. What it ended up happening here. You can see that's what it ended up looking like when I finally got it all out of the connector. If this connector itself had broken on this board, this power distribution board, that would only been like $16. That's how much it costs for a new power distribution board. But it was the connector itself from the GPS unit, so we had to replace it. Anyway, that's what happens. Those connectors are delicate, and just be aware that that can happen. And thankfully, these parts are still available. If it wasn't available, then we'd be in real trouble. Now I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to put these. This is already pretty much seated down in here. Just going to make sure it's seated down all the way. And we're going to go ahead and we'll start putting the screws back in here, just to get the center module tightened back down. Hopefully we won't have any more setbacks. Tighten this into the new shell. This goes in tight, so you really have to kind of keep at it. Get it in there nice and tight. It's hard to get them in there straight. Make sure this is all the way seated down. because the connectors, the solder for the connectors for the motors is kind of there in a way. All right, that's tight. Make sure that's all the way down and tight. Seat that down in there. Another nice thing was the delay caused is the fact that I actually was able to get a new tube of this silicon, electronic grade silicon in. The old one had pretty much hardened solid and was unusable. Also, we had time to get new parts in. Make sure this is all the way down first before I show them to you. We got new reflectors. I only had one of those as a replacement, so we have all those in now. And we ended up getting the little end pieces, the end reflector pieces too. They came in. So now we have enough of those. The only thing I am missing is two of these pieces that go on the landing gear there, you know, as the little opening there where the antenna is attached. So they're on their way. They're coming from China, so they'll take a little while. And make sure that these screws are nice and tight, because this whole unit has to be seated down there all the way. Then after this we can put in the or solder in the motor leads. And then from there it should be just a simple as snapping the shells together and putting the screws in that hold the shells together. Okay, that's in. Another thing that I did while I was waiting for the new GPS unit was I rebuilt the camera. So it's got the new yaw arm on it here. I didn't record that because I already made a video, and I'll link to that down in the comments and in the video itself. The procedure on how to do that. I've already rebuilt one of these in the past, and I do have a video on that, so you can look at that. I do have to get a new lens here. You can see that's broken, but that's an afterthought. I can get that at any point, which I will do. But that's all ready to go. Hopefully it'll work. I haven't been able to test it, of course. All right, let's get these wires soldered in here. Black lead first. What I did, folks, was I wicked off much of that. Bring the camera back out here. Using this solder wick, I wicked off most of that excess DJI solder. They really glopped it on there in this drone, and it's melts at a very high temperature. So the chances of getting a cold solder joint are higher with the... I had the soldering iron set to 850, and it's still, struggling to melt a big glob of solder that's on there. So I wicked it off, and we're just starting with some fresh solder. Okay, next one down is gray. Let's get the gray one lined up here. Put a little extra solder here on the soldering iron. I hope you can see this. Let me turn this around. so that we're looking directly at where we're soldering here, which is right down here. I hope you can see enough of it. A little extra solder on the iron here. We're going to put the gray one on here. So let's see if we can fish that one in there. It's a little bit tricky getting these things lined up. You don't have a lot of finger space here. I don't like using the tweezers, and I'll tell you why, because as you're soldering, they get hot and the tweezers get hot. You can actually melt the insulation here on these wires, and you don't want that to come in contact with the metal chassis, which could possibly cause a short. And what you do is you'll get an ESC error. That's what will happen. So I'm trying to avoid using the metal pliers as I solder it. Not the pliers, but the tweezers. Okay, that's in there pretty good. Okay, let's see what it looks like there. Hopefully you can see that right there. So we're going to do the rest of them, then we'll bring it back when they're all done. Soldering portion of our program is over, thank goodness. I really hate dealing with these stiff DJI motor leads. You can see that's kind of what we ended up with our solder joints there. You can see that or not. But all four are now soldered in. Now it's time to put these LEDs in. And I fired up the soldering iron once again, but I lowered the temperature to 550. And I'm going to see here, what you need to do is melt these little plastic tabs over the LED here. Let's see if this is hot enough to do it. Well, I think that's good. We'll do this one here. It's still a little loose, so maybe we'll increase the temperature a little bit. I would increase the temperature a bit. We'll try this again. Okay, it's a little better. So to make sure this unit is tight on here. It's still a little loose. Get this plastic melted here. Okay. Better. Same thing on this one. So make sure you have your LEDs pointed down in the right direction. With the LED on this side, I made that mistake once. Had the LED facing in the wrong direction. Now remove it. I only burnt myself once soldering those motors in, which actually is not too bad. I sometimes do it more than that, just trying to maneuver those leads to get them situated in the right place.
A few minutes later.
Okay, we can turn the soldering iron off now. And what we're going to do now is we're going to get a little bit of silicone glue. Electronic grade is what I use. And we'll get these wires situated and put a little silicone glue on them. It's important to make sure none of these wires are sticking up like this is here. Because when you put those shells together, you're going to want that nothing to be pinched. Alright, let's start by putting a little silicone glue up here. This is the stuff I use, by the way. You get it through Amazon. I'll include a link if there's not already one down there. See if we can get this down a little closer to the shell. So here's, we got to be careful of something like this up here. We got to make sure it's pushed down away from that. And we're actually on the wrong side of that. So let's put that over there. More glue there. There we go. Okay. Again, there wasn't a lot of glue here on this. Much less than I've seen in other Phantom 4s. Even though this wire was originally glued down, so I'm not going to go crazy. Glopping a lot on there. No. Let's just let this set for a few minutes, and then we'll bring you back. Alright, let's put this thing together here. Alright, first we have to, this needs to be fished up through here. Should be interesting. Get a pair of tweezers. This is not something I've had to do before. This is something that's a bit of a new design. I didn't want to unplug it down here because it's glued actually. It's in a socket, it appears, but it looks like it's glued. So I want to run it up through here first. See if we can get it in here. And then connect it inside the leg here. Yeah, this isn't going to be as easy as I thought. Okay, that's what we want. Get everything lined up here and here. Gotta get our ground straps up and out of the way here. Okay. That's where we want it. Now we gotta get this GPS connector in here. So let's get this finagle around. Try not to make the same mistake I made with I'm sorry, this compass connector here. It's going to get out the same mistake I made with the GPS connector. Let's get this twisted around here. Get it lined up if I can. Again, this is just awkward. Okay, that's connected in there. We can lower this back down. Again, we'll get these ground straps up here and up and out of the way. And this is all out of position, I see. Okay. We need to get this up into its little slot here. There we go. Let's see if we can get this finagled in here. Okay, that's in. You can see that there, that connector. I'll put a little dab of glue on there. I'll have this baby fired up in no time. Here we are. Okay. Looks like we are all locked into place. We're gonna get our screws here. Let's see what we can start with. Got our two little screws that go here. In. Might as well get our motor screws in here. Drop those in. Okay, now we got the shell screws to put in. I'm sure I like this, the idea of this organizer. Maybe if I can put it alongside of me like that. And since we're done with the soldering iron, I can actually put this away. Get it out of the way. That's better. I can actually easily see into this container to get what I need out. First time I've had one which had a part of the shell broken, the magnesium shell. We were able to glue that sensor part, the rear sensor part, back on, or actually epoxy it, and it's very strong. So I'm confident that that's going to. Oops, did we get one in there already? We did. I'm confident that's going to stay put. Now let's get these antennas hooked up. Let's twist this one around. This one gets connected right here. And this one gets connected here. There we are. It's on. You got that little bracket on there. Okay. Okay, I've got these new covers here. Came with the new reflectors, so I'll go ahead and put these on. Try not to touch them with my fingers if I can help it. Get that positioned a little better. Okay. We got our reflectors here. Whoa, look at that. Try putting it in this way. There. Okay, and then we have these little end pieces here. They go on like that. Peel off these protective coverings here. Just one on these elongated sensors also. Okay, now I also have the covers here. They came in recently. So let's go ahead and put them on. Let's see, those are here, I believe. Let's see, is this them here? That's them. I did have two of them, which I can use. Let's see if I can figure out which ones these are here. Do they go on? No, this one probably goes over here. Maybe over here. We can get this one in here. Okay, that one goes there. And I think this one might go here. And we'll just pop these other two remaining ones in. I think that one goes there, perhaps. No, maybe not. Let's see. That one doesn't go there. There we go. I do think that one goes there, right there. And then this one, I believe, is going to go here. Let's see. Notice how I bend the landing gear a little bit back and snap it on. Here you go. So you put those on. We are almost ready to go here. looks like a drone. Well, really the only thing left to do is to put on the camera. I don't know what kind of results we're going to get from the camera, folks. Let's cross our fingers. I do know that the cable going to the yaw motor, while it was intact, it was a little bit banged up. So we'll have to see. I don't know what's going to happen. Will the yaw motor even work? Will the entire gimbal even work? We'll see. Here is a rebuilt camera. Once again, as I mentioned before, I rebuilt this as I was waiting for the new GPS to come in. But I'll include a link to a previous video that I had done rebuilding one of these. It's the same exact camera as the Phantom 4 Pro standard, so there's no difference there. I've done a video on the Phantom 4 rebuild along with the camera, and I've done a couple different videos of the Phantom 4 Pro and the Phantom 4 Pro camera and one of the Phantom 4 rebuild of the camera. So I saw no need to video this rebuild here. Let's go ahead and connect this up here. I do have to get a new lens here. We'll order that. Let's see, I'm going to go ahead and kind of put it like this to connect this up here. Alright, that's in. Now we're going to go ahead and put the bracket on it. Which is right here. This is the crucial moment. We're getting close to the crucial moment. Is it going to go up in a puff of smoke? Is it going to work, but only partially? We already know we got the DJI sound when I plugged in the battery a little while ago. So it appears that the motors are working. No problem with the ESCs. But after all the work we've done, let's make sure we didn't damage anything. Okay, let's go ahead and connect this up here. And we'll put this together. Not going down there as cleanly as I like it to. Oops. Alright, well, we'll just run those screws in and get it down tight. snapping in there tight once I got the screw in. Like I said, I would not be surprised if we have an issue with the yaw motor. We may have to get a new one. I hope not. I've had to replace the yaw motors on the last two that I've done. Not an easy process necessarily, because you really have to remove the coils. Retaining the original magnets, because then the camera doesn't face forward. The yaw was off, and I haven't been able to figure out how to correct that. I even try to run a program that's supposed to stabilize or recalibrate the camera to get it to go straight, and I wasn't able to get it to work. But I tried replacing the entire motor with a new one. So I had to remove the coils and replace it with the coils from the new unit, taking it out of the magnets, leaving the original magnets in place. That's the only way we've been able to get these cameras to stay straight. I grabbed the lens off one of my other cameras, one of my other drones. We'll get a new one of those later. Let's try this out. Are you ready, folks? Here we go. Like I said, I don't know what's going to happen here. Let's turn on the remote first. Alright, we'll turn on the drone. Stand back. Camera's initializing properly. Oh my goodness, look at that. Looking good so far. Let's bring up the app here. Whoa, look at that. Let's see if it responds. It does. Pitching up, pitching down. Nice. I did actually plug this into the DJI Assistant for Phantom, the older program which I use with the Phantoms on the computer, and calibrated the vision sensors, which I, definitely needed because of that broken sensor mount in there. So that calibrated just fine. Checked the firmware. The firmware needed to be updated. I did that on the Assistant, but this is the first time I'm checking it, for camera functionality, and I think we're good. Let's fire up the motors here. Nice, nice. Well, they don't always go this way. Most of the time they do. Looks like this one we can call it a success. Alright folks, that's going to do it for this video. We're not going to take it out and test flight and do a video of that because this video is already going to be long enough. We'll just put that in a separate video. Alright folks, give this video a thumbs up if you like it. If you like the content of the channel, don't hesitate to subscribe to the channel. And when you do, make sure you hit that bell notification. It's going to let you know when I upload a new video. Take care folks, and we'll see you in the next video.